Welcome to another video. Today I'm talking all things hem leveling. So one of the questions I get asked quite frequently, if not most frequently, is how do I level a hem? If you make a dress or a skirt with any kind of bias in the finished garment, so any kind of, even a half circle, sometimes just A-line skirts that have got a little bit of bias in them, depending on the fabric, your hem is going to drop on the bias, and that means that the bias of the fabric is the diagonal grain of the fabric, and it's where the fabric is its most stretchy. So the sheer weight of whatever you've made will make it stretch in that direction, which will make your hems uneven. A lot of patterns now will tell you to hang something up for at least 24 hours before you level the hem. I like to leave mine for at least a week. The longest I've ever left anything for was 6 months. I've never had to re-level that hem, but 6 months is excessive. At least a week, and I like to leave them hanging up, doing their thing. And given how frequently I make stuff out of viscose, I have a lot of hems that need leveling. I had accumulated around about 7 different garments that all needed their hems leveling, and they all had a lot of different challenges for each one. For example, this first one is the Butterick 5951. Now it's got a very gentle curve to the hem, and it only stretched out a tiny little amount, but it did stretch out and it was uneven. Now this dress has got a waist seam, so I used my favourite and usual method for leveling this hem, which I'll show you now. Okay, my first method for leveling a hem is probably my favourite and most used method. Having said that, I haven't used my pinchy device yet. But you don't need a dressmaker's dummy, you don't need a friend to help you with this one. You can do this one with yourself with just a friction pen or a marking tool of choice that will show up on the fabric that you're using, your tape measure and your scissors. This method has worked for me for a very long time. Like I say, it's my preferred method, the one that I use the most often. I have chosen to use one of my less full skirts for this method because the fuller the skirt, the more difficult it is, but you'll get an idea of what you're meant to be doing. So before you put your skirt or dress onto the table flat, you want to hang it up and have a look at it and see which is the shortest point. This has a center front seam, but that is cut on the bias. The actual straight of grain of these skirt panels is down the center of them, so that is the shortest point. Once you've worked out the shortest point, you want to lay everything out nice and flatly, and unfortunately your legs are in the way. You're on a tripod at the moment and you're kind of in the way, but we'll make it work, it'll be fine. So you want to lay out everything nice and flatly, and you really want to smooth the fabric down. That is the trick, to make sure that you are smoothing the fabric down towards the hem. So I'm going to take my tape measure and measure from my waistline. So you want to smooth everything down and find the shortest point on your skirt. For me, that's around, it's just under 32 inches, but I'm going to say 31.5 inches just for ease of use. So I'm going to make a mark either side of the 31.5 inch point on the tape measure, directly onto my skirt. I'm then going to pick the tape measure up, move it over slightly, and do the same thing. Smooth everything down and make a mark at the 31.5 inch point. And you basically just want to keep doing that until you've gone round the entirety of your skirt. And this is those times when I absolutely curse my love of very full skirts. And the important thing here, as I say, is that you're smoothing things down, because there's no weight on this fabric as you're doing this. So you're kind of relying on that motion to make sure that everything is lying nice and flatly. So I'm going to keep marking the whole way around. I am actually going to move you guys, because as I say, you are in the way, so I'm going to move you over to the side now that I've shown you how this works, so you can have a look at how this goes in time lapse, and then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so you're going to just have to take my word for it that I have made marks all the way around the skirt, because the turquoise pen is really blending into this, but I can see it. I don't think you would be able to if I showed you a close-up, which is why I'm not. I have marked all the way around the skirt, and I'm very grateful that this is quite a sort of modest skirt in comparison to the ones that I like usually. So what I'm going to do now is actually make sure that I only have one layer of skirt out, and I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim all around the lines that I have just drawn on there to even up the hem. Okay, and once you've finished doing that, you should have trimmed off the excess where the bias is stretched out, and you should now have a level hem that you can finish off in your chosen method. I am going to be using bias binding to hem this. I'll be sewing it on by machine and then hand finishing it, very much like I have done with the sleeves here. So that is my usual and preferred method of leveling a hem. Obviously the larger the skirt, the more involved this method will be. Ask me about doing 8577s. But this you need no special equipment for. You can do it on the table with just a tape measure, pen and pair of scissors. So as I say, this works really well if there is a waist seam, because that's where you can measure from and you know that that's going to be a constant the whole way around, so that you will end up with a even skirt the whole way around using the waist seam as your starting point. But what do you do if you don't have a waist seam on your dress, like I had with the Vogue 9076, 9026? I will have put the picture up here. Now at the time I was trying the string across the door method, which I'll show you in a second, but the very lovely Primarily Pink, who is a peep and is part of the Kittenish Behaviour Peeps group on Facebook, made the point that she had a dress that she was trying to level the hem on that didn't have a waist seam. So before she'd even constructed her dress, when she was cutting it out, she had marked where the waist was from the pattern onto the dress pattern pieces that she'd cut out. Now personally I would thread trace those into place, because I wouldn't trust, especially given how many I cut out and how long it takes me to sew some things, I wouldn't trust that chalk markings or my friction pens would last the whole way through the process of making it, especially with ironing with friction pens and chalk just rubbing off. So I would actually thread trace in the waistband, or sorry, not the waistband, but I would thread trace in the waistline on the pattern pieces before I take them off of the tissue paper once they've been cut out, which will then, when you come to level it, give you somewhere to put your tape measure if you want to use the flat method that I've just shown you. So thank you very much to Primarily Pink for that. I hadn't thought of that beforehand. Because I do have a, like I say, I do have a dress that needed to be leveled without a waistband, and I was randomly trying to work out how I was going to do this by myself without help. So thank you Primarily Pink for that recommendation. There is other methods if you have already made your dress and you didn't think to put your waistline in ahead of time, and I tried the string across the door method with these results. It's actually not too bad, but there is some drop on the bias, and I think it's dropped at the front from what I can see now that I've got it on, and I think the shortest parts are at the side there. So I'm going to take my tape measure, and I'm trying to do this by myself because I know that we don't all have a lovely fabric washing fairy or quilting queen available to help us with our sewing. So I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm actually going to lay it on the floor, and I'm going to stand with my edge of my foot on the 3-inch mark, so that the 3-inch mark is now coming up from the ground. I'm going to stand up straight and put the tape measure against my leg, and then I'm holding it tight at the top here, and I'm going to come down to about where I think, because obviously I'm bending forward, which is changing the level of the hem, but about where I think it was level, and it's on the 14-inch mark, which means that the hem, the shortest part of this hem, is 11 inches off the floor, because as I say, I've got my foot on the 3-inch mark. It's coming to 14 here, so 14 minus 3 is 11. So I am going to put some string across my door 11 inches off the ground. doing nothing. Oh, there's a faint line. No, just no. So, no, that did not work. I'm probably doing it wrong, but no, that did not work. So yeah, it didn't work for me. And I think one of the reasons it didn't work is because I was trying to use talcum powder rather than chalk, and I think that kind of dissipated way too quickly. Also, the skirt that I was trying to mark was quite a full skirt with lots of ripples in the bottom, so that was quite difficult. I think it was a Threads video that I saw. The skirt that they were trying to mark was a pencil skirt, so it was much easier for them to walk into the chalk and get an even line on this pencil skirt. That's not to say that you can't do it with a fuller skirt, it's just going to be slightly more difficult. This was the last method that I tried on the day, and because some of the other ones had been so successful, I gave it a go. I think I also put my chalk too low as well on one side. You can see when I'm in the video that my side seams was just where the chalk finished, and I think it maybe should have been a little bit higher, but it wasn't for me. It's not for me. Yeah, I won't be using that one again, because I have found another device that is absolutely amazing. So I'm going to lead up to that one. Next up is the chalk marker, which has the little bulb on it that you fill with chalk, or the little container that you fill with chalk, and then it has a bulb on it like a perfume bottle, and you press the bulb to push air through and the chalk will come out from the chalk marker and make a line onto the dress. This worked amazingly well. It was also incredibly messy. Again, I used talcum powder. One of you lovely peeps recommended talcum powder instead of loose chalk. I have looked online, and probably not extensively, but I have looked online and I couldn't easily find loose chalk to buy, and talcum powder was something that was really easy. I just got it from my local drugstore. So it works really, really well. It's really, really messy. It took like at least 3 sweeps of the floor, and it's still making a mess now. And the reason that I am not getting that device out to show you is because it still has talcum powder in it, and the minute I look at it, it puffs talcum powder at me. I will say it was the quickest method for sure, and I used it on a full circle skirt, and again with the full circle skirt you can see I'm kind of moving the fabric so that I'm getting an even line all the way around. Big Bird gave me that tip because she said she tried it, and because she just left the circle skirt hanging and just puffed at it, when she came to cut it out there were giant portions with no markings on it. So you do need to manipulate the fabric to make sure that you get an even marking the whole way around, but it was definitely the quickest method. You know what, going forward in the summer months, if I can do it outside, I think I would do that. I haven't tried it on with me wearing the dress using the device. I have seen somebody else do that. Again, I think that will work. I think it's just a little bit more difficult, but you don't need a mannequin to use the chalk puffy device. You can do it on yourself, or if you have a sewing helper, you can definitely get them to help you as well. And as I say, it's one of the quickest methods, so I do recommend it, but it is messy. Okay, hem leveling method number 3. As you can see, this skirt has again gone totally crazy and massively dropped in every way possible. It is a full circle skirt and it is made of viscose, so that's not that surprising. Okay, so this device came with this device, which came with my Lady Valet adjuster form. I've never ever used this because I just didn't want to make a mess, basically. So you're meant to put some chalk. I've actually got talcum powder or maize starch powder because somebody recommended it, and I was going to buy dressmaker's chalk, but apparently this is just as good. You need to put chalk into this bit here, put the lid back on, then you attach this to the let's see, you attach this, it is meant to just slide on like that, there we go, it does. So you attach this to the height thing, which is adjustable. You put it to the right height and then you blow the chalk onto the hem of whatever you're trying to level. I have a feeling that this is going to work, but it's also going to be incredibly messy. Big Bird did say to me that she has used these and it did work, but she also used it on something like this, and you need to make sure that you move the kind of folds around so that you get into all of the like nooks and crannies, because otherwise you can do this and you'll end up with giant spaces where you've got no marking whatsoever. So this is my shortest length at the front here, and you know, it's dropped a good sort of 4 or 5 inches at the sides, so this is going to be interesting, and as I say, probably quite messy. Wish me luck. Right, oh, it's only got the, how do I open this up? It's only got the little holes in the top, and I need to get like a lot of it out, not just a little bit out. It doesn't, oh, that, well, okay, so there's the first problem. Oh, it's doable. It is doable, sorry, doing that all out of shot. It's just, it is going to be messy. Okay, so that's the first issue with using this stuff, is actually getting it into the device without getting it everywhere else as well. The other issue I can see with this is it's not going to work for that spotty dress, because that spotty dress is white, and obviously so is this powder. But I think you can get dressmakers chalks that are different colours. Okay, so that's quite a lot in there. It smells nice. It kind of smells almost Parma Violet-y, which is weird. So I need to get that on there like that, and it's already messy, but never mind. I've got it all over my skirt and stuff. Brilliant. Now we need to bring the chalk marker down to the right height, which is about there, and then we're just going to move this round and blow chalk out. Oh, well, it kind of works. Maybe I need more powder in there though. Oh, it's sort of working, but I definitely need more powder in the chamber. Okay, so I'm gonna try and fill it up and we shall come back. 2 secs. I am literally just making a mess. I got more in. I'm probably gonna have to refill again, so let's try this again. I mean, it's probably, if you don't use talcum powder, it's probably not this messy, but yeah. Okay. Let's no, this is I mean, I didn't think this was going to be my favourite method, and I probably should have got the correct thing. Oh, maybe I need to be a bit closer. Maybe that's working a bit better. This dress is definitely going to need to be washed afterwards. Oh, okay. No, we're getting a line. Again, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to be seeing what's happening, but we are getting a very distinct line, which is good. Now technically I was thinking that you might be able to use this method on yourself to level a hem. Oh, the sides. Sides a bit shorter. Never mind, we'll just keep going. Yeah, I was thinking you could possibly use this method to level a hem on yourself, but I don't know if that actually would work, because this is fairly difficult at this level. I think I might need to refill. Oh, my battery's dying as well, typical. It's working. I'll show you what it looks like when I have finished, when I've got all the way around. It's definitely messy. Okay, so it has actually worked. It's made a really distinct line, which is great, and I am now going to cut around it. But oh my goodness, it was messy. It was really, really messy. And I can't imagine that using the correct dressmaker's chalk is going to be any less messy. It has worked though. It has worked well. Well, that was definitely the quickest method, but it's also the messiest. Yeah, that skirt had dropped significantly in places. Now there's not so much. Next up we have lasers! I really wanted this to work. Wilson and I had been joking that morning that I wanted to hem a skirt with lasers, or level a hem with lasers, and he said, can I have a shark with a laser on its head to do that? And I actually think that sharks would be genius at leveling skirts. I really do think they'd be very good, but I don't have room for a shark pool in here, unfortunately, so I couldn't test that theory. But I did borrow a laser level from our neighbour. Back on the floor again. Dress on a mannequin. Laser! I've been very excited about this method, although Dad's fancy laser with a tripod which allows you to adjust the height, unfortunately the actual laser itself had corroded and is no longer usable. So this I've borrowed from our neighbour. See, now trying to get that level is going to be interesting. So, I mean, as you can see, like, actually giving you like a marking on the hem to follow, that works incredibly well, but the trick is going to be putting this at a height that's going to make it level. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? Because this is also, none of the surfaces of this are flat. They are, there's a little dent on the bottom there, it's got curved sides, and the light comes out sideways. If it came out that way it would be great. If I could light flat that would be great, but it comes out vertical that way, not horizontal, and obviously we need it horizontal. I think as a method, if you have the right laser level, this is going to work brilliantly, because it's giving you a really nice defined line that you would be able to pin around or mark with a pen. But the trick with this is going to be getting the actual laser level itself level and at the height that you want. As I say, I'm working with our neighbour's one, which doesn't have its own tripod. The ones with their own tripods are quite expensive. I think they start at around £120. It is an investment. And given that my pinchy device is working quite well, I'm thinking that whilst lasers definitely work and would be really cool if you had one, as a device bought purely for hemming, I think it might be excessive. So thank you, Lottie. It was Lottie that gave me this idea. Thank you, Lottie, for suggesting this. And if Dad's one had been still working, I think it would have been a brilliant idea. And if you happen to have one, then definitely give it a try. But yeah, I think you need the ones which have got their own kind of adjustable stands on them that you can move to any kind of height. Papa had a lovely one on a tripod that you could raise and lower the height on and make sure that everything was level. Unfortunately the laser itself had corroded, so we couldn't use his, so I borrowed it one from the neighbour because I wanted to see if it worked. I genuinely wanted the answer to the question, what's the best way to level a hem, to be lasers, just so I could keep saying lasers, and also put it in the thumbnail and in the title of the video, because clickbait. I do think it's a really good way to level a hem. If you have access to one that then this is the important point, that has the ability to be leveled and put on a tripod, then I do think laser would be a really good way of getting an even level on a hem that you project onto the hem and then you just pin around and cut out. Or you can use like a marking tool like I did with the first method, so just mark where the laser hits on the dress and then cut that out. The one that the neighbour gave me it was rounded. The line only came out in one direction. I couldn't switch how the line came out, so I couldn't even lie it flat, and it had like little bobbly bits everywhere, and there was no easy way to attach it to a tripod to get it level, which was really sad. But it did show that the method would work, and I have Lottie to thank for this recommendation, because she let me know that she was trying laser leveling with her fabrics, and I was just intrigued and mesmerized. And again, lasers! It might actually be, because I'm saving what I think is the best method till last. Unfortunately, the device that I want to show you is also something that doesn't seem to be readily available, and you will need to buy it secondhand. So depending on how much they cost, and I have seen them from anything from around £25 all the way up to like 150 for some of like the more professional ones for lasers, it might actually be the way forward. And if I didn't have my pinchy device, I think I would be investing in a laser that had its own tripod and was adjustable. If I'd had a way to, as I say, put it down so that my hands were then free, I think it would have been a really good way to make sure that I was getting a nice even level on my hem, because that's what painters and decorators use it for, is to make sure that they're getting, you know, lines flush and shelves up straight and things like that. So yes, lasers do work. I couldn't test the theory 100%, but I do think they work, and you need to make sure that it has the ability to be attached to a tripod or a tripod of its own that is adjustable in height, and that you can make sure that the laser itself is nice and level, so an inbuilt spirit level into it. Lasers work, and I'm not ruling out not buying one in the future just so that I can say that I level them by laser. I'm not also ruling out building a shark pool and getting a shark with a laser on its head, a la Dr. Evil, because laser. Anyway, the other obvious one is you can enlist a friend to help you. If you have a sewing friend, or if you know somebody in your household that you trust, you can use a tape measure, pins, and you on a higher surface standing straight, because don't look down to help and point out things, because that changes the level of the hem. But you can always use a sewing friend to help you level the hem of your skirt. I appreciate that that's not something that everybody has access to, and I appreciate that's also something that you need to have a little bit of skill, or impart that skill to your other half who's helping you with this, to get it all right. Now the final one is my favourite, and I have it right here. It is my pinchy device. I love this thing. This thing is amazing. I got incredibly lucky. I found this on eBay in the UK for £26 from Cambridge. It was the RSPCA in Cambridge. I actually cheekily made them an offer of £26 including postage, and they accepted it. It was in its original packaging. It's called the Scoville Dritz pin type hem marker. I cannot find a modern equivalent of this. The only place that I can find these is on eBay. When I went to eBay, I was expecting that I would have to pay shipping from America. I was expecting that I would have to have one sent over from America, and it was going to cost me around 50 quid, £26 for the shipping and £26 for the actual device. So as I said, I got incredibly lucky and found this in the UK and snapped it up. It is brilliant. So previously I was using the ruler part of my chalk blower, not the chalk blower itself, just the ruler part, to kind of guess the height that I wanted it to and putting pins behind it. Now I have this, and let me show you how that works. So this next method is going to require a little bit more equipment. I have basically it's a shop mannequin. It's not actually a tailor's dummy in any way, shape or form. It's literally a display form that they use in shops. I got mine from Moorplan. I think it was about £40 plus VAT. They do go up in price as the size increases, which I think is a little bit cheeky. But yes, I have my Sew Over It Doris dress on my mannequin, and as you can see, the hem on this one has done wild things. The outer fabric not so much, but the lining fabric has particularly gone crazy. I'm going to try and pin them together so that I can cut them out together and don't have to do 2 layers. I don't know if that's going to work. We shall find out. So I used to do this with this piece of equipment that came with my adjuster form, and it's lost one of its legs, which means it isn't actually completely flush with the floor. I lost one of its legs during the move and we haven't found it. I was convinced it was in a bag, but it wasn't. So I used to bring this, it's got measurements on it, I used to bring this up to the edge of the dress, and I would pick a, it doesn't matter what the measurement is, and as long as you use the same one the entire way around, it'll be fine. But I used to pick a measurement and then put a pin in kind of behind that measurement. I tried doing it in front, but you have to, when the fabric's longer, it's more difficult, and if not impossible, to see where the measurement that you've picked is. However, I have got myself a pinchy device, which is actually technically called the Scoville Dritz metric pin type skirt marker for all skirt length. I found this on eBay and it was £26, I believe, and it's still got its original packaging on, so I'm going to take that off. carefully. And it has the instructions of how to use it on the back there. I first saw this, I believe, on Gertie's channel. She was using one of these to mark a hem. And I just thought, oh, that looks amazing, and then couldn't find one in the UK. So I was very surprised, because I was actually going to get one shipped over from America. I was very pleasantly surprised when I got onto eBay and found this one available in the UK. So I don't know if they're available from shops, like modern day shops, as brand new items. This one looks like it's from the 70s with that outfit, possibly the 80s. Vogue Paris original pattern 1558. Might have to look that up, that's nice. So the idea with this is that there is a ruler on, or there's centimeters marked on the ruler, and then we have the pinchy part here, which you set the height, skirt height, to whatever you want. You use the pinchy device, and then there's little holes here that you can put pins through. Let's see if this works, which it does. So you unpinch, and then you just move the skirt around and you pin all the way around, which will give you a nice level hem. And this part is adjustable. So I'm going to find the shortest part of this skirt, which is going to be interesting. I'm gonna look here, here we go. So this is the shortest part of the skirt. So I'm gonna need to move the pinchy part up. It's cutting off quite a lot, so I'm gonna say there. So I'll tighten it up. Now I don't want to move this, I'm just going to move the skirt, so I'm going to start placing my pins and then move the skirt and pinch, in and move. Now this is going to take me a while because this is a really full skirt. So time lapse for you, actual probably half an hour's effort for me. Wish me luck. That took a good 20 minutes, but I think it's worked. I'm going to cut the hem and we shall see if it's worked. So I need to get up and get my scissors. I did not think this all the way through. Be right back.
Drop this parcel.
Mum's gonna help. Okay, well, here goes nothing. That looks pretty damn level. It worked. Now I've just got to take all the pins out. And then again, I'm going to be using bias binding to hem the outer skirt, and I will use a folded or a rolled hem on the inner lining. But yeah, that was pretty painless actually. So I'm going to, like I say, remove all of those pins, machine hem on some bias binding, and then machine finish the lining hem as well. And I'm going to machine finish the lining hem so that it turns up a little bit higher than the outer skirt, just in case anything decides to keep dropping, then hopefully it will still appear level. But I'm pleased with that. That worked well. This is brilliant. As I say, I cannot find a modern day equivalent. Nobody seems to be making these anymore. There are plenty of them on eBay, but they are expensive, especially if you live anywhere outside of the US, because you will need to pay shipping, and the shipping can be quite expensive. This is a fairly awkward thing to package. Mine came in a very strangely shaped box that had been kind of created for the purpose. So whilst it's not very heavy, it is awkward. It's got the ruler on here, then this little device slides up and down, and then you pinch the fabric between here, and there are places for you to put your pins through, as you've seen in the demonstration. You do need to have a mannequin if you want to do this yourself, or you, again, if you have a friend, a sewing friend, or a person in your house that you can show how this works, you can get them to help you with this. It does need some specialist equipment. You will need a sewing mannequin if you are doing this by yourself. I used to have the Lady Valet. I don't have that anymore. I have 2 shop display mannequins that I got from Moorplan. They were around about £45 plus VAT for the size 10. It fits me fairly well. It's too short in the torso, but the other measurements, the upper measurements, fit me really well. And as we all know, I don't really make fitted sort of bottom half skirts and things, so the hips weren't really a problem. They are a good 10 inches smaller than my hips. I could pad these for sure, but I just don't need to at the moment. You do need to be able to have something to put your dress on that is sort of your shape to then really utilize this if you don't have a sewing friend to help you. There are lots of body, you know, mannequins out there, and they range wildly in prices, with Bootstrap being one of the most affordable, and then all the way up to the ones that are used in designer ateliers, you know, hundreds if not thousands of dollars for those ones with collapsible shoulders and things like that. That's one thing that the Bootstrap doesn't have, is a collapsible shoulder, so you need to make sure that the dress will go over the shoulders of whatever you're making. I was worried about that with the leopard print dress, but I did manage to get it on my mannequin. That was before Primarily Pink had told me about, you know, marking in the waistline before you even start making the thing up, which is something that I will do going forward, because I think up until now my favourite method of all of these for hemming has been to lie the garment flat, smooth the fabric out, make sure that you are really smoothing that fabric out. You need to have looked at it when it's hanging up to kind of see. You can see where it's particularly dropped and hasn't, and then you smooth that fabric out, use your tape measure, mark it and then cut it, then check to make sure that it's even. That's been my preferred method for a very long time. Now that I have my pinchy device, I definitely will be using the mannequin and this going forward. Every now and again, like I say, the chalk or the talcum powder, the chalk puffy thing, that was the quickest, definitely the quickest. It was quite a bit of fun as well, but it was so messy. So definitely in the warmer weather, when I can probably do that outside, I think I'll use that one, because it really was the quickest method. But the pinchy device is my overall winner, and I'm very pleased that I have one. Again, I am sorry that I am recommending something that is not easily available, and it is something that you will have to hunt down and try and find yourself a version of. They are vintage, but they are brilliant. I have no idea why nobody's making them now. Whenever I typed it in, I would come up with the chalk marker, but not the pinchy device. I'm going to put my search terms in the description bar down below, because obviously it's not really called a pinchy device, it's a pen type hem marker, and I will put the link to the eBay search that I've done down below so you can see which ones are available. So I really hope that was helpful. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any different methods that I haven't tried for leveling your hems, and what your preferred method is. I did try and think of as many as I could. As I say, maybe I should have installed the shark pit, but I do think I've tried as many different methods as I could. I'm glad that I gave these different types a try, because there are definitely some that I prefer over others, but pinchy, a definite winner for me. So let me know which ones you use, let me know if you have any different methods, and let me know if you get a pinchy device, because join the pinchy club. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!